mics on?
Yes.
I got 6:31.
All right. I'm going to call to order the town board meeting at the Town of Lisbon Town Hall on Monday, June 28th, 2021 at 6:31 PM. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman,
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker. Here. Administrator Nicholas,
Here.
Supervisor Moonen,
Here.
Supervisor Beal,
Here.
Supervisor Brahm,
Here.
Attorney Macy.
Here.
We've got DPW Director Joe DiStefano and Park Supervisor Mike Lund in the audience, and Clerk Capazza to record the minutes.
Thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 is comments from citizens present. Is there anyone who wishes to make any comments tonight? If you'd step up to the mic, state your name and address, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Drosvich, and I live at W258 and 9407 Riverview Drive. I can go through. Okay. I've been a resident at this address for 27 years. The reason I'm coming to the town hall meeting tonight is to ask for your help in keeping our subdivision safe and clean for those who walk with their families and pets. I'm representing my subdivision as others in the subdivision are afraid to have their names attached to what I will be sharing with you tonight, and they have chose not to be present. We have a home, which I won't give you the address right now, but I have it written here, I can give it to you later, unless you want me to state the address. That for the past 20 years has had many vehicles sitting in the driveway that have flat tires, oil and other fluid running out into the road, garbage laying in the yard, along with used hypodermic needles and tall grass and weeds. The outside appearance of this house has not been kept up and is in disrepair. The windows are fogged up, roof shingles are off, paint chipped around windows and the trim of the house. It really is an eyesore. Many of the neighbors have said they have either written to the town or have voiced concern over this particular property. I have written a letter, although when I did write the letter, I did not include my name because of the fear of if my name got out. I was afraid that if these people found out, it's not a very good household, and I'll explain a little bit more why. One of the neighbors started actually last year cutting the property's lawn because it became such an eyesore. And the neighbors directly across the street from that house had seen cats and rats scurrying around the tall grass and weeds. I have also been in contact with the Lisbon Police and Waukesha Sheriff's Department, as this property is an attractant to drug use and drug deals. The police department has informed me that they have been in contact with you on this property and you are aware of the activity that is happening. When speaking with the Lisbon police officer last week, he informed me that there's a red vehicle sitting on the driveway in front of the home. And he said that we lived there when this happened, so we did experience this. The vehicle they had shot at the young man as he was leaving a drug arrest. And that happened in 2011. Still today, 10 years later, the vehicle still sits outside, flat tires. I think the window is actually still even broken on the car, and it's all rusted out. I'm here today to ask you to please help our subdivision be clean and a safe place to live. Please feel free to drive past this home and see for yourself what an eyesore it is. The residents of the subdivision all know, this is really sad because they all know not to walk on that side of the road because there are needles, there's broken glass, there's trash, and So they all know not to have their children or their pets on that side of the road in fear of what they may stumble upon. As I expressed to the police department last week, I will share with you also that I fear that one day someone in our community will be hurt by the dangerous situation that's happening at this house. So I'm to the point where I don't even mind that my name is being attached to this. And if something, I have complete faith in the police department that I will be protected. But we've lived with this for 20 years and I'm asking for help for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? Citizens' comments? Anyone on Zoom?
Nope,
No,
no
all
one
our
on Zoom
people.
with hands raised.
Thank you. Move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a town board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda. We have the June 7th, 2021 special town board minutes, the June 10th, 2021 regular town board minutes, and the pay request number 3 for street extension work in TID number 1 payable to Wander Construction for $124,701.75.
Just to note that there were amended minutes handed out prior to the meeting with the updates in red.
So everybody's got the right minutes. Any questions, comments on any of this? Do we want to take it all at once, individually? Any kind of motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda number 4.
All right. Motion by Mark Moonen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda Beal. Any discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, accounts payable. Authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $241,755.55. Kathy?
All right, so our large amounts out were rural insurance for $10,387. Verbecker for $17,747.60. Waukesha County Treasurer's Office for $63,143.34. And Wondra Construction for the $120,701.75. I
Questions?
ask
Or
for your approval.
any questions on the bills? Is there a motion on the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Motion by Becky to approve is presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug Brown. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6 is announcements and correspondence. We have a meeting list here of the Plan Commission meeting on Thursday, July 1st at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. Next town board meeting will be on the July 12th at 6:30 at the town hall. We also have the border review on Wednesday, the 14th at 6 p.m. here at the Richard Young Fire Station. Then the Parks Committee meeting on the 19th at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. And then the next sanitary district meeting will be on the 21st here at the town hall. Does anyone have any other announcements or correspondence to note? All right, item 7 then is administrator report.
We've had some resident concerns about garbage pickup. We've heard the last couple months with Waste Management taking over for advanced disposal. That transition hasn't gone very well. I've been working with the area managers to try to get to improve our service as well as do a better job on their communication center. I've requested a monthly report to list all the complaints and how each were rectified. And so we should see that for the next meeting. And so we'll get that every month as we go through until we can see that there's no complaints left. We Energy's power outage in Linsdale Farm. I spoke with the public assistance manager. The outage was due to a tree coming down. They've reviewed the area for branches in the wires and they're going to come and trim those. But they do have this area scheduled for a complete clear out in 2022 or 2023 on their schedule. For departments, we have the clerk processed 5 tobacco license 25, operator license 11, dog licenses 117, compost site passes, 7 park reservations, 13 special assessment letters. And they are working on the Laserfish as well as preparing for the website launch. DPW shouldered Lake 5 Road and portions of Hickory, replaced 3 culverts, completed 2021 brush pickup. Fire there were 5 fire calls, 36 medical, 16 ALS intercepts, 36 interfacility transports, and 4 vehicle accidents. Parks, the seasonal and full-time employees have been hired. Park division is now fully staffed. Thank you. They are working on mowing the parks and preparing the sports fields, catching up with the weeding and park cleanup. Sheriff's Department had 16 verbal warnings, 5 written warnings, 122 citizen services, 35 extra patrol, 32 911 hang-up calls, 9 alarms, 13 follow-up investigations, and 14 well-being checks. Treasurer Joan would have been here today, but she's coming back late from her vacation, so she will attend the July 12th meeting. So if you have any questions on her Q1 report. Revenues for Q1 are $444,597. The expenses in the general fund were $1,177,741. The revenue for bank interest for Q1 2021 was $3,766, where last year the interest income in Q1 was $30,731. It's a difference of almost $27,000 in the first quarter. That's how much interest rates have gone down. We received our American Rescue Plan Act funds of half of it, so it's $556,156. We'll create a separate fund to help keep track of expenses as we use the fund. I will come to the board for discussion later on in the year, but we do not have to spend this money this year. We can wait until the second half comes in June of 2022. We have continued our team building meetings, and we're having tournaments during those meetings to build camaraderie. Teams are made up of 2 people that are from different departments, so they get to know each other. And the final meeting will be in September with a championship. If you don't have any objections, I'd like to give the floating holiday to the two members of the winning team. Other than that, any objections? The other thing I did put on your desk are the non-compliance report. These are the 15 calls we've had and what we've done with them so far. They received a letter when they expire and if action has been taken. So it's for your review. Any concerns about the floating holiday for the 2 winners of the tournament? They have to use it this year or they lose it.
I don't have a problem.
So what is the tournament? Bags? What are they
It
doing?
is.
Is it always bags or is it changed?
It is this year's, that's what it is. Next year it won't be athletically. Although bags, I don't know if you consider that athletic, but it's really helped. We've all been able to sit around and get to know each other, starting to build a good Lisbon family here.
Can we make a decision on this when it's not agendized?
No, I was just gonna say, if there's no objections, I'll just move on.
Okay, I don't know. Mark?
Thanks, Chairman. I guess I'm all for the camaraderie. I think it's a great idea to partake in the team building exercise. I guess I would be opposed to providing a floating holiday as far as the prize for it, since the activity is not necessarily work or skill based as we employ them to be. So I think we could find other ways that we could reward the winning team other than, I think there could be a better use for a floating holiday. Sorry.
Becky?
That's all right.
I think it's a great prize. I would be in favor of it.
I think maybe like a gift card for $25 off at Starbucks might be good. I don't know about awarding a day off. Although I like the whole idea of it, and I know it's going well, and I've heard nothing but positive stuff about it, and they like it, and I do believe it is going somewhere that is really positive and good. I totally am for that. I don't know, giving a day off. I
Doesn't
guess, I
cost
don't
us anything.
know. It doesn't cost
us
nothing, yeah.
That's.
I wouldn't oppose it if everybody wants
It's a
it.
morale booster and it doesn't cost anything.
Are you talking about the day off?
Yeah.
Make it a little kickback because it's based off of a physical game as far as some people can do it, some people can't, but I think I think a prize is a good idea. I'd personally donate if it was an issue that way, but.
So would you like me to bring it back? It doesn't happen until September. So would you like me to bring it
Yeah.
back as an agendized item for discussion?
It might be a good idea.
Okay.
Well, I know if it's the firefighters, they're gonna have to backfill or something. Maybe.
They're gonna have to what there?
They'd have to probably bring somebody in to backfill, have some
So who's to
staff
say
there.
a firefighter's gonna win?
Huh? Yeah, they're probably not gonna win. I get it, yeah.
Sure, we can come up with an idea for something.
Okay, great.
If it's not that, it'd be something else.
Thank you. That's my report.
Any questions for Kathy?
Nope.
No? All right, thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
Item 8, supervisor reports. Does anyone have anything to report at this time?
No, I was sick last month and I didn't come for the meeting.
Anything from anyone else?
The fire department length of service is finally done, and the $19,000 that they had projected that were gonna be refunded is actually gonna be $21,600 and $15. So that's the final figure on it, and I know the paperwork was sent in last week and signed off, so we should be getting that money.
Anything for you, Becky? Okay. All right. Move on to Plan Commission recommendations. Discussion and necessary action and the request by Joe Bukovich of MLG PF Twin Pines for the property located at West 274, North 8422 Lake 5 Road, tax key LSBT 0171.995 for approval of the following related to Twin Pines Phase 3, the final plat and the development agreement. So these both passed the Plan Commission unanimous. Questions or comments on them?
We do have Planner Holloway and Paul Hinkfist from from MLG, both available on Zoom if you have any questions.
Is there, on the map, is there gonna be an underground tank added to that, or are they opting out of that fire protection tank?
For quote, we would require a, how many gallons? 10,000?
It's a 10,000 gallon tank. And there's several in there already.
Right.
I thought in this case they were opting to pay in lieu of the tank, but
That's good.
I could be incorrect on that. I'm not 100% sure.
And I
The
just,
development agreement addresses, this is Paul Hinkvis. The development agreement addresses that. And I'm not sure if it calls for payment or installation, but it is addressed. One of those two options. Just kind of looking for it right now. So one way or the other will be taken care of.
I thought it listed both. It wasn't chosen.
Yeah, we're gonna, developer shall pay the town the cost of installing an on-site water storage tank in accordance with the code. It's in
I just was wondering if it was addressed. One way or the other.
I can say the town engineer, this is Rachel Holloway, the town engineer has reviewed and issued initial comments on the construction plans. I don't believe they're in final form yet, but the developer is working through those. And that will be, I think typically the tank is dealt with as part of that process and would be covered by the letter of credit. There is if the payment is being made, but the engineer has yet to confirm the cost for the construction.
It is addressed on page 5 of the developers agreement in paragraph F.
And I thought I read through.
Any other questions? Linda, anything?
No.
Mark? No. Becky? Is there a motion on we'll take the final, we can take them together or separate, however anyone prefers.
So I'm sorry, did you say you do them in one motion?
Either way. I'm assuming we can take them both.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the final plat of Twin Pines Farm Phase 3
Motion,
and the developers agreement for the same development.
motion by Becky to approve the final plat and developers agreement. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda Beal.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Please include in the motion that it's subject to the conditions as set forth in the plan.
Motion okay with that?
Yes.
Second?
Okay.
Motion and second are good with that. Thank you, John. Any other discussion on these? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 10, new business. A, discussion and necessary action regarding park committee concerns about the restructuring of the Parks Department. All right, we have several members of the park committee here tonight. Thank you for coming. So we obviously had some restructuring go on with John leaving and Mike coming in, and we restructured the DPW to the part of where we have Joe DiStefano as the superintendent essentially, and then 2 supervisors, one for the highway and one for the parks. And I went to the parks meeting and we had some good discussion, I thought, talking about it. And I asked Pastor Florin to send me an email kind of outlining the concerns that the committee had. And this is the part of the email. The committee expressed concerns over the new structure, including decision authority over allocation of funds, diminished influence regarding the voice of the parks, and then lack of communication and collaboration before the reorganization took place. So in our discussion, the one that is probably the easiest to talk about right off the bat is the lack of communication. That's something we're just gonna have to fix. I mean, that should be an easy one to fix, I think. So this was a unique situation, I would say, where John was here. I mean, we didn't know what was happening for quite a while, and Mike stepped in, and it almost kind of became normal, honest to God, for a while there, but that's just something we'll just have to fix in the future, have good communication on it. We also had questions about the diminished influence regarding the voice of the parks. And in that regard, it was not having a director position in charge anymore. Is there going to be a diminished voice and how will it look? And there were several concerns shared, and one of them, and there's no cut on Joe DiStefano here by any means, but what if there's a DPW director that isn't park orientated? What happens? We kind of had a little bit of back and forth on that. And that was one thing that, you could have a parks director that's not keen on parks, or DPW director it's not. That's what the board's going to have to be here for, and people having a voice to come back to us on. So, it was good. It was a good talk. I also had a follow-up email that came in later discussing we are renting out the community park on August 21st. And the Parks Committee wasn't involved in that, so to say. I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know if it was discussed or not discussed, or who knew what, when, and how. So some of this discussion here tonight, I think might be, I'd ask Kathy to kind of look to see what our Parks Committee charter was, because we never really talked about it. What is the committee involved in? What's the committee not involved in? You know, what, maybe that would help outline, because a lot of things have changed over the last decade, you know, and kind of like a map on who should be going to what, how, and why. And it's kind of, we just kind of been functioning, I guess, and it's been going. I mean, we have a good Parks Committee. I mean, Marlene and I, we have great conversation. It's appreciated. And obviously with the diminishing at some of our parks, we've found that some of our equipment is diminished also. That was also a discussion we had as far as when we do budget, the last item we budget for is parks, typically. I mean, we have highway, we have emergency services, you know, and we budget for those first, and then we budget for parks after, and it is last on the agenda. So, and with their shortage of money, that's a lot of times where it comes from. So we just kind of stated the obvious a little bit on that, but talked about it. So I don't know if there's anybody here from the Parks Committee that'd like to elaborate on what I said here. If I hit most of the points or not. Come on up, Marlene.
Hi, Marlene Kumich, Chair of the Town of Lisbon Park Committee forever,
And
because nobody wants it. Anyways, I have to say that I love the new changes coming around. I think with anything, new people coming in, things get rough. A doesn't know what B does, B doesn't know what C does, and poor Mike got thrown into the mix. And like you say, with having John on and Mike coming in, and it was kind of a mess for a while. What really sparked everything, I think, is Jane Stadler passing. And I took the Stadler family up to the town hall park here. They wanted to put $5,000 worth of benches in here. We walked around and said, not in this disaster area. The parks are horrible. And part of the problem is we never went to the different parks. John was in charge. The committee never walked around to all the different parks, which we have now done. I met Joe and Mike at the different parks. Some of them are just beyond horrible. Town Hall is the worst. Stony Hellquest is next. And a lot of, like you could say where the highway department is, there is no park. Now that Joe DiStefano has cleaned it up, we can actually put equipment there without worrying about the kids crawling in the culverts. Things change, things have evolved, and that's the way it's gonna be. But we gotta work together, we gotta talk to each other. And I think sometimes somebody doesn't know, well, what should we say? What exactly is the park committee's charter? Well, all we wanna know is just let us know what's going on. If we have, we are among all the people, we know what's going on, and we can give you feedback. And I haven't bitten anybody's head off lately.
No, you haven't.
No, and it's just, the parks are in horrible shape, really horrible. And I think some of them, like Joe said when we were over there, get a crew out there in a week, we can clean them up. There's metal benches out there I wouldn't want to sit on. They're so overgrown with lichen and stuff. But Town Hall Park should be totally replaced. And then start budgeting. And you're going to get a sticker shock when you find out how much to do a park right, correctly, so it's going to last costs. You know, let's try for grants. Let's try for fundraising. If not, okay, every 3 years, we do a park and do it right. And for 3 years, we budget X amount of dollars. Or we put a park in and then pay it off in 3 years. We've done that behind with the Lions. We paid for stuff and then they paid us back. We've got shelters for nothing. We've got grants for nothing. Lisbon Community Park was all grants. We had the National Guard out there putting in roads, in buildings. You know, there's ways to get around a big chunk of money, but I think we're beyond that with some of these parks. So like I say, let's keep the communication open. And I've told everybody, if you're not sure about something, call me up and ask. You know, if I don't know what it is, I got a whole list of people I can call. you know, but that's my 2 cents worth. Any questions?
You do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
So one of the things we need to probably establish is we've really guessed, it sounds like both entities don't know what the roles are fully. We should probably figure that out. The one, I mean, right after, I mean, the next day, I got this email here about the parking being rented. And I will say my first reaction was, well, we rent them out. The town hall takes those phone calls. The town hall does that. Why would we go to the Parks Committee? But then you think about it, it's like, well, this is a little bit bigger than it normally would be. And I can understand why they'd be questioning, but it's, I guess it'd have to be putting everybody in each other's shoes and going, okay, well, they rent them out normally. And it's like, that's kind of what they handle, but yet the Parks Committee, this is big and it could be potentially, the park might not be open that day. I guess we don't know that yet. So I think it's back and forth a little bit and we got to figure out a communication on it and what everybody's roles are going to be.
So we did
So-
do some research and we found years of, they started it, then they repealed it, and then they started a new one, and then the committee was actually put in place in 97. Because in 87 it's mentioned, but there's not one on the books because they repealed it in
Mhm.
78. So there's, in all cases of every one of the ordinances that we have, not one of them spells out exactly what the park committee does. And all of our other committees are spelt out pretty well. So I'd like to probably work on section 2.14 because it also mentions a couple other standing committees that we no longer have. And then put in there in 2.11, really spell out what the park committee is and bring it forward. I can work with the park committee themselves to see what their thoughts are and Mike and Joe and see if we can get something together, get it to the board.
I just wanted to say, Kathy, for a while, they appointed us as a commission. So they found that they'd have to pay us. And then we went back to a committee.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that's good. No,
We will work. with
Yeah.
folks. Can I add a comment?
Sure.
Or do you have other things that you?
Ed, can you just do it at the microphone?
Yes, yeah,
We're on
yes,
Zoom.
definitely. I was just checking the protocol. You need the address. You need my address? No. Ed Nelson, co-chair, Park Committee, also a member of the Planning Commission. Who's the gentleman to your right, Mr. Osterman?
This guy,
Yeah.
that's John Macy, is our attorney.
Uh-oh. Will he also be at Planning Commission meetings? He's taken over the attorney position.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. I'm not going to piggyback because I know you guys are underworked and overpaid. So basically, you don't need to hear the same thing twice. I just want to say thank you, Marlene, and members of the committee that are here this evening. I also, again, want to thank Mr. Osterman for coming to our last park committee meeting, hearing our concerns and, giving us a chance to air that. And because communication is the key to all of this, basically keeping us in the loop and letting us know what's going on. The one thing that I'd like to add is in the past, historically, there was a board member, this board, who would sit or come to, when feasible or possible on their part, to our park committee meetings. And realistically, now we're going on 6 months, possibly longer, without having a rep. And don't everyone, jump up at the time and volunteer, because I know, again, you're undertaxed. But if Chairman Osterman has, as far as this board, we need someone who can at least try to make or be a liaison between this board and the park committee. Because basically, I believe this would make it, communication would take care of that. It would have possibly, this meeting, that the fact that the park committee is here tonight, some members of the committee are here, might never have been necessary. And there would have been more open communication between our administrator, Kathy, and
the park committee, as there has been, because I have noticed over the last 3 or 4 months, we of course have had Mike at all of our meetings. Joe has attended some of our meetings. That never happened before with the former highway superintendent. And Kathy's been to some of our meetings. Thank you very much. Because what it obviously does on a besides a committee or a meeting level, it shows that people care. So getting down to my point, that liaison is very important. And I hope that in the future, sometime in the future, possibly this year or as we go into 22, that we can have some member of this board who would be able to come to our park committee meetings and act as a liaison, obviously, between this full board and the park committee. And hence, again, the things that Marlene was talking about, this may not have been necessary. Because again, open communication, as you are all aware, is extremely important. Right, attorney? Absolutely. Okay, any questions? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ed.
So I did talk to Marlene, and I will be attending the parks meeting.
You're gonna attend all the parks meetings?
I'm at all the ones that I'm in town for. Attend the Parks Committee until we get a board member to be that liaison.
So that would bring the last conversation of the night, which was coming, was we will need to assign someone to the parks.
Now, Tadia was on that.
Right.
And Tadia, now I'm trying to remember.
It's the pen's pointing towards.
I'm trying to remember, my dear. You know, that was Tadia's position.
If so needed, I would do it.
Just like to tell them, we keep our meetings to an hour, 20 minutes max. You don't sit there all night long and have coffee and tea.
I know you get right down to business.
Are you the new guy, Doug?
I've said that to you before that I would do it.
So I will be at the next meeting, because I told Marlene I would take any questions that the board members wanted.
Yeah.
Three members wanted, but then I'm happy to pass.
No, you can definitely be there. I don't care.
When are the park, Marlene, when are your meetings?
Third Monday, 6:30 at Richard Young, yeah, Richard Young.
Mhm.
Fire station.
Okay.
I'll go home, grab my sword, I'll knight you at Joe Mama's.
Really, I did.
Absolutely. All right, any other,
I still get to keep the fire department though, right?
Yeah. You have as many as you want.
Yeah.
Well, you'll feel right at home. It's a comfortable environment. You know it well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know how to get around in there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing that up. And
Thank you all for coming. Any other discussion on A? All right, item B, discussion and necessary action regarding the purchase of park equipment.
Wow.
Hello. This kind of piggybacks, I guess, the discussion we just had a little bit. So Mike reached out to a couple vendors for some playground equipment. Obviously, the growth we have in this town and currently and continuing, we're looking to potentially upgrade some of this playground equipment. So obviously the price tags are a bit large, but you got to start somewhere and get the pricing and figure it out and put a plan in place. So that's what we did. And this would be to replace what we have here, not including the fire engine, just the stuff south of the pavilion. And as you see in the packet, there's some drawings of two different companies that put something together. One's Northland Recreation out of Woodbury, Minnesota, and the other is Lee Recreation right here in Cambridge, Wisconsin. So they both have a price tag, north of $100,000. These are relatively all-inclusive packages. There'd be a little bit of demo work we would need to take care of and a bit of restoration at the end, but quite minimal. So these prices would be lock, stock, and barrel. But we wanted to start with this and then get an idea where we were been at and then kind of talk and go forward. So,
So we do have 83,000. We do have 83,000 of impact fees for parks. That could be used, but that still is nowhere near this price tag. And I do have another park that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. I understand this was brought to the park committee, and did they make a choice on?
Lee.
Okay,
So,
so the
yeah, more
170,000.
expensive, which it is a
And
much
if-
nicer system.
Yeah, if you look at the cost, the equipment, it's about half the cost of putting down the port in place then. That's why the cost is so high. But the port in place really helps make the equipment last. We could possibly have no maintenance on this equipment for 20 years. So it's definitely worth the money. Buying the special chips and getting them in our mowers as we're mowing around and having to replace them year after year is not really financially feasible or financially acceptable if we can buy something that is going to stay in place for 20 years. We've had the one port in place that we have right here at Town Hall, our fire engine, and that is still in very good shape and does not see any wear on the port in place.
How old is that that's out there now?
9 years old.
9 years old?
The
And that-
stuff in the playground
Oh,
equipment?
no, I
The-
thought
the
she was
fire
talking
engine.
about the fire engine.
Oh, no,
The
no,
fire engines,
I'm
right.
talking, yeah, I'm talking about the stuff that you want to replace.
Do you remember what it was, Mike?
Wow,
So,
prime,
yes.
yeah.
So, so I have also received from Lee's a little a document for Stone Family Park. And we started with the Stone Family Park, and then we jumped to the Town Hall Park because the Town Hall Park was in such, we felt was in such need. And we thought we'd try to get it in before the 9/11 event, but it is impossible to get it in before the 9/11 event. Both Northland or Lee is unable to get the actual pieces in order to put it in, let alone the port in place. The reason I hesitate on moving forward on the town hall, we don't have enough money to purchase the full amount. We only have the 83,000. We could do a budget amendment if you so choose, but I'd like to consider the impact fees for Stone Family. I've got a meeting next week or the week after with Sussex, and they are putting in a subdivision right next door, and they are willing to help fund us to put in the equipment in Stone Family. We also have sewer and water laterals that run through there that we might be able to get an agreement with them on if we work together. So we do want to, I would like to visit that with Sussex to help pay for a park that they're definitely would benefit from just as well as our residents if we can share expenses. Just my thoughts.
What do you think the possibility of grant money or trying to solicit some of these companies around us that I imagine they've been picked on and asked on, to help with the parks? You think any?
I think fundraising and grants, just as Marlene mentioned, are good ideas. I've done some quick research on some grants, and I haven't come up with any. It's something that maybe Joe can work on with the Parks Committee
Mhm.
or with Mike to look for grants, but I did not come up with anything that,
Okay.
we could actually turn over in a quick enough fashion.
Sure.
I did talk to John a little bit, our former Parks Director, last week, and he suggested some possibilities of using CDGB grants for some of the equipment parks equipment if properly worded. And we could look at that for future CDGB grants. Joe has been working on the CDGB grant for the parks trail on Lake 5, and he's been doing a great job keeping us informed and trying to get that grant through, showing up for all of those meetings.
Mhm.
Although
We're
some of them
close.
are phone calls. So.
Hopefully we'll know in a month, but that'd be great.
So just a clarification for me anyway. Are you suggesting doing the stone one rather than this one first?
I
Because
am
of the amount of
only,
money?
I am only because we could partner with Sussex on this one.
I got you.
And I'd hate to lose the chance of partnering.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be something that we partner with for next year anyways,
Yeah.
but then we can come back to the table on Memorial Park. And the reason we pushed Memorial Park first, if I'm stating this correctly, Marlene, was mostly because we were trying to get it done for the event.
Right.
I mean, it's in bad shape, and Joe's group went out and did a little bit of work on it to try to make sure no one got hurt or got cut on any.
Is the work that was done on it, is that enough to carry it through the rest of the year and into next year, or is it something we gotta tear out of there?
I think it could stay. It's solid, it's structurally sound. It was
Okay.
just that we had some chipping paint that could hurt someone and some rusting. There's still a little bit of work I'll talk to Joe
Yeah,
about.
it's safe. No questions there right now. Is it perfect? No, but, and in a year or two, you'd have to revisit. It's, it's a thing you gotta check on, just to keep an eye. You don't wanna neglect it, and a year later, there's a kid. But I mean, I stood up there myself. I'm confident that it's okay.
Well, I went up there too, and I know
Yeah.
it was all that.
It was nasty
That
looking.
coating was all.
Yeah, we
chipping
did
off.
a bed liner coating on it now recently, the 3 tiers, so it's much better looking at least, so. And more just it's a long, an age thing, just like anything, you keep it so long, you replace it, and you can tell that this.
Well,
go
even the
to a
fire truck
park.
is all faded.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
And the cost for replacing those faded parts on the fire truck are just, it's tens of thousands of dollars just to replace the pieces on them. I do plan for the budget to, as we put sinking fund money away for equipment like plows and mowers and things like that, to bring that to the board and discuss. We've got so many parks. We expect each park to cost us a minimum of $200,000 on average. If we put something away every year, even if we were to upgrade the parks, we should still be putting something away for the future park refurbishment.
Mhm. Well, can I ask, what does the park committee think about doing that other park first rather than this one?
I think if you can guarantee that Sussex will go through within a reasonable time, and we can get X amount of dollars out of them, that makes sense. But if they're gonna procrastinate, we're gonna kick the can, we're gonna be doing the same thing that we have been doing for the last umpteen years. We're gonna be sitting with equipment that's crap, terrible stuff. We're gonna say we're gonna budget it for next year, that's another year. If Sussex says, no, that's it, no more. Put that money into it, borrow the rest, and let's start. Let's get this going. How long do we have to wait? Go around to these parks and take a look at them. Town Hall is horrific. Stony Elmquist is one step behind.
So-
You want to budget for next year for the next one? Then when are you going to do the next one?
Right.
Kick the can down the road again.
But we can't do them all at one time.
No.
Right.
We can't even do 3 at one time.
That'd be nice.
Right,
You can't. It's $500,000.
I know.
right.
Joe said he can fix
Yeah.
Stony Elmquist.
Yeah.
Okay, and if Stone Family, it's not that bad, and if Sussex says no, then let's move on now, not next year.
So I did meet with Mike, and we did take a walk through Stone Family. And he had some really good ideas about taking some of that equipment from over there and bringing it over to town hall to make it a larger area. Because we do have some equipment that's over there that's much newer than what we have here. But to try to utilize some of the newer equipment that we have at Stone Family. So, so if we do something with Sussex, we can complete this project and then, but still have some new equipment here at Town Hall or at Memorial Park.
Kathy, the only thing with moving old equipment in is you can't put a surface down. You got to put in new equipment to get the surface. All you're doing is patching, fitting the can.
I understand, but it's much better than throwing it out.
Well, you don't want to throw it out. It can be donated, or there's nothing in the maintenance building at all. We could make a small playground there. I just passed there today. There's nothing there for the kids to play on. We can now do it because Joel cleaned it up.
What
So
kids
those
go
are
over
things
there
that can
and
be
play there?
discussed during the meeting.
Sure.
The
So we're gonna have
committee
to put a,
meeting.
do we have an estimate about costs over at Stone Family?
It was 140,000 for the equipment that was put together, but I want to kind of revisit, I want to see what Sussex is willing to put in, because they usually put in a pavilion and things like that as well. So I want to see what their thoughts are. Their large subdivision is going straight into the park. They have paths that go right into our park. And so why not benefit, use less of the Lisbon resident funds. They are collecting impact fees for those houses that are going up as well. So why not use it for a park that both communities can share in expense and share in use?
And in reviewing this, I had a few notes that I wanted to make. I know this is only for discussion tonight. We're not actually acting on these two recommendations. But one question that came to mind for me is, and actually the park you just talked about, I just started using it more recently because it does connect. There's two places to get into that park, and I've discovered it. So, but every time I've gone there, it's, unless there's a little league game going on, it's not really used that often in my observation. Doesn't mean it's not, but that comes to the question of how many people are actually using what park. I guess I'd like to get some of those questions answered. And I guess I look at our history of doing things, unless we have some kind of strategic plan in place, much like we had with our road undertaking, we're not going to get it done right. We're going to go to what Marlene says, kick the can down the road, and it's just going to keep getting kicked. We're going to piecemeal here. We're going to do this. We're never going to have a plan. So I'd recommend a strategic plan for all the parks, and maybe a condition report, because I mean, I like that they're getting out to the parks, but if we don't know from a staff and administrative level what the park's condition is, I don't think we can actually put forth good money in the right spot. And if it was on this point, I would recommend to carry over this to the 2022 budget, because I think we can use the impact fees then, and also to have time to possibly budget for this to make it appropriate. I guess, I don't know, and I would ask Mike or Joe, how long it would even be to get this equipment? I mean, are we talking into fall already before we could even undertake the project? Okay. So,
This is gonna be right before winter.
right, so we wouldn't even use it this year, not to say we couldn't get something in the works this year, but put it in next year's budget. So I guess I'd recommend continuing to plan, but I don't think we should look at each one of these individual. I think if what Marlene is saying is that all the parks are in deteriorating shape, some worse than the others, I think we should have a plan in place to, I guess, appropriately look at them, and not necessarily just because one's the worst doesn't mean it gets the first attention. I would look at safety first, then the user numbers to make some of the informed decisions.
But just curious, how are we gonna get user numbers though?
Mark's gonna sit out there every night
Yeah.
and watch.
Well, I know for traffic counts, somebody sits out there and clicks cars, so I'm sure our staff could sit out there and click users.
That is, that's difficult to do. You have obviously your athletic events,
Mhm.
which over the years, John kept very good records on. And whether or not that includes totals, in other words, number of kids, et cetera. Because I go past Stone Family quite a bit, its major utilization is baseball.
Yes.
And I don't know all the levels, but that's that park's major utilization. Here at Town Hall, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
I
there's,
have no idea how well this park is
This one
utilized.
gets used
Well-
pretty good.
I'd like, Joe.
for
I'd
the
like-
park,
I
for the
just looked
baseball,
at Town Hall today.
but not for.
Honestly, that's probably the first time for me, in at least 3 to 5 years. I saw that yes, the things are faded, but they're still basically usable. The deck that was rusted out has been, well, it's not rusted out, come on in. It basically has been coated, thank you, Joe, and looked in decent shape. If anything, it needs to be wood chipped up there. Because the wood chips have settled, as of course they're going to do, along the barrier line. That, encompasses the equipment that's there. Marlene has made, the municipal garage, again, underutilized, no idea of that. Stony Hallquist, another park I believe that's mainly used for baseball. But how much, I don't know. I did look at that park. I also looked at Lisbon Oaks. The major things I noticed, the equipment needed in some cases just to be painted. There's swing sets at Stony Hallquist that need to be painted, and it needs to be re-chipped. And the borderline again, the stripping needs to be replaced. So that was my observation just within the last month.
So doing an actual assessment of the parks, I mean, I agree with Mark as far as that. We need to look at this and determine what we need, how we need it, and then how we're gonna pay for it, obviously, is nobody's gonna do it for us if we don't write them a check. So that's gonna be an important part. I will say, after hearing that 15 weeks is as soon as we can get that equipment in, why would we wanna put it in fall?
Mhm.
Put it in spring, because you're gonna put it through a Wisconsin winter. You've just taken something that smells brand new and then it's used by the time they get it in spring. So I don't think putting it in this year would really be advantageous unless we have to. I mean, if they're impact fees, we have to spend them this year.
We have some, but we
Can we
can put
buy it?
down payment. And
As I say,
Yeah.
buy equipment or put money in, determine what we're gonna do. And
Just to mention the ball fields too, I mean, I can't give you exact numbers, but end of May through the end of July, Monday through Thursday, all of our fields get used by Sussex Lutheran Youth Baseball Association. So I mean, I pull in here, you could see, it's kind of neat to see that. I can see the kids out there playing, brothers, sisters of the ball players, up there. So you probably can guarantee Monday through Thursday at every single playground, there's some kind of use. Obviously, come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we don't have planned ball games, but you get randoms here and there. But I think Monday through Thursday, you'd see good usage actually out of it through, end of May to end of July.
is it some of it, I mean, as far as like use and all that? I mean, these things are what kids play with now. I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but
I know.
they walk around like this and walk into things. I mean, are we putting up things kids are gonna use? Do we maybe need to reanalyze what we're doing? I just was thinking this now. I mean,
Every time I walk by Lisbon Oaks, there's kids all over those playgrounds.
but I
Like-
mean,
Like you said, on
like-
Monday through Thursday.
I would have loved something like this when I was young. We just didn't have it. I mean, actually, whatever is in Stony Hallquist Park is probably still there from when I was young. So, but I mean, I guess looking at what even should go there. I mean, I like this, don't get me wrong, but I'm also not gonna be playing on it. Our kids, what are kids wanting these days?
Yeah, that's a
What are
good question.
parents wanting, I mean, I hate to,
Is
I'm
there,
not gonna say a lot of people haven't ripped on water features, but I mean,
with
spraying water is something that's been really popular.
splash pads and
I'm not talking a big splash pad, but I'm just talking like even something that's squirting water around and doing things.
going with what Mark said about a strategic plan, is there like some way we can do some surveys and get people's input on the website or through your,
Do something.
you could do, maybe get some surveys included with your overall plan,
Sure.
what people want.
And another thing that probably go off what Joe's saying, Mike and I mean, we're digging ourselves out here, you know, you gotta, to just backstory, we've had Mike in there by himself all winter, so it's just, this is not gonna happen overnight. This all happened
all
over
year.
10, 15 years, this isn't gonna happen in 3 months, so, but we're working and it's gonna go good, I'm not concerned that way. But one thing, we're trying to get him involved with the WPRA, which John was involved and went to those seminars, and if I had to guess, we could reach out to them, and I bet you ask a question like that, Joe, and I'm sure there's probably already been seminars on that, because these people see it too. Phones are getting used more, what's the trend? You know, what is the trend of a playground, and it's a good question, so.
But I mean, even as there are things like, I mean, literally,
Yeah.
these kids have phones, going there
Sure,
and
that
scanning
can
a
do
QR
stuff.
code
I hear you, I have
and
a
playing a game or something
Right.
on a,
treasure hunt or something
right,
crazy, yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those. They actually have like a big screen and then they have like 3 or 4 different possibilities and they're dancing. And so you see the kids in front of these big screens and they can
Sure.
see them dancing. And I think in Milwaukee County, one of the Milwaukee County parks actually just put one of those in there. I saw some videos of the kids, how fun they have, you know, what kind of fun they have there.
Sure.
Who set up these plans?
The vendors.
The vendors.
What did you
Northland
tell
and
them? What did you say to them for them to do this?
Michael?
I just give them a general direction of what we have at the current playground
Okay,
and what I'm kind of looking for, and then they kind of throw it all together. You know, they do this professionally, so they know what
well, sure.
kids are want and
Okay.
what's the latest and greatest.
I was just curious. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there's endless amount of options.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a couple of parks lately because I have a 6-year-old and we were granddaughter that we were in New York. And this one from Lee, they have, and it was jammed with kids. All kinds of kids.
I know in Oconomowoc, they have the Imagination Station that has all kinds of musical things and, you know, a stage, and there's kids playing on that all the time, using their imagination.
Okay.
So keeping
So-
with the purchase of park equipment as closely as possible, I guess we need to establish a plan.
Yep, strategic plan, do a survey, get a conditions report, look for what we want to do in the 2022 budget. We can talk about this at the next Parks Committee meeting,
So
start the discussion.
I guess one thing too is we have to put a plan together, obviously, but I mean, if we can do something joint with Sussex, potentially, maybe we could do 2 parks next year, potentially. I mean, interest rates are really low right now. I mean, they're damn near as low as I've ever seen them. Maybe we could just,
Well, we know it, I just gave you the
yeah.
$27,000 less in first
So
quarter.
maybe there's a way, maybe we could do 2 parks next year to jumpstart it and if it's needed and,
Okay.
okay.
Very good.
Any other discussion on this item? Parks Committee, anything else?
I would just like to see some ending date. Now, let's open it up for discussion, let's do this. I'd like to see who's gonna do it, when they're gonna do it, and how long it's gonna take. I've been on committees where if you don't say, this is the date, it never gets done.
Well, let's discuss this at the next board meeting because I don't think we can do that right now.
Okay,
Right.
awesome.
But I will tell you, there's one thing I've noticed that we've probably never had ever. I will spend more time putting the brakes on this one than hitting the gas. So I don't think you're gonna have to worry too much.
Joe, I'd like to know, Kathy,
Yes.
our history, obviously between the town and the village is less than amicable.
It's actually pretty good right
It's
now.
very
It's
good.
getting better, okay.
It's actually
very
very
good.
good right now. It's probably the best it's been since I've been here.
It's very good. We're doing very well with
All
the
right, well,
village.
because when you were saying that, I was just thinking, oh, we better get all this in writing.
Yeah, no, it's.
But we'd
it's
have an
been
agreement.
good.
We would have an agreement,
Okay.
but not because we don't trust them. It's just that we are working together and it's good so we both know what's expected of each other.
Well, in terms of Stone Family, that was good to hear. because I want Mike's daughter to be able to utilize our park. Because he's gonna be right at their back door.
I see how that works.
He's gonna be our neighbor across the street
Now
here.
we know why he's here.
Anyway, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, discussion and necessary action regarding the purchase of a cabin chassis for the park division.
Wow.
All right, we have a truck at the Parks Department. This is all capital money that was approved last year. I would have came to you a lot earlier. Unfortunately, GM, which is what we have, we've used in the past, we're comfortable with, we have parts, prices there, blah, blah, blah. They cut their ordering date 30 days short. So when I was ready to do all this in January, it got squashed and then had to wait till 2022 numbers. But on the bright side, we'd get a 1-year newer truck for the same, they're holding pricing from 21. So I guess there's always a bright side. But with delays and everything else, I mean, this is just such a different world we are in than when we bought the 2018. Because we got that truck, lock, stock, and barrel, body kit, everything done in 6 months. We're gonna be lucky to see the cabin chassis in 6 months now. So, as you can see here, this is just cabin chassis. I'm in the process of working with the bodies and the plows and whatnot, because parks trucks, we do put plows on the small trucks. Working on all that right now. But this is just to get the cabin chassis ordered so we can get something going. And we deal with Ewald. Ewald gets the municipal contract. Their prices are the best, or state contract. And then you can see I got a Ford, Dodge, and Chevy as usual. And Ford, usually it's Chevy, Dodge, Ford. This time it was Chevy, Ford, Dodge. But the price is there. We budgeted $75,000 for the complete truck. This would be taken out of that $75,000, and then the remaining money, which, you know, not saying we need it all. It'll see how the numbers shake out, but we would come back with that to talk about what's left and what we need to put the body on and the plow. So tonight I'm asking for approval to be able to order this truck.
Discussion from the board.
Good.
Well, I have, so the last parks truck like this was a GMC, right?
Correct.
And they didn't get that from Ewald.
No,
right?
that was up at formerly known as Bob Fish. Now it's Lynch.
Fish, right?
So
Lynch.
it's just those guys are gone. It's all different up there, and
I know Ewald has that fleet pricing.
right, yeah, and it's
I
so
just-
competitive. It's
But the last
crazy,
time I
actually.
think the GMC was cheaper, right?
correct. And our truck was a Chevy, and I did with John up there at Bob Fish when there was Bob Fish, priced out a GMC and Chevy, and the Chevy came in. It was so close, you know, it's just couple $100 either way. And ours was a Chevy. John Greighton, when he got his, was a GMC. So yeah,
How
but
long-
same motor, same.
How long do you think this is going to be in the field and be usable?
We've kind of talked about these trucks and set these numbers as 12 years for the
And how many
1-ton
miles?
plow.
Just curious.
Probably anywhere between 50 to 100. It's hard to say exactly where it'll come out, but the truck currently has roughly 60,000 miles on it.
Okay.
So, I mean, you still get a decent resale for it, but it, you know, 12 years, that's when things start to, you know, stick more money into it, and you're,
Will
pass
you
it
turn
down.
around and sell what we have then and put it in the fund?
well,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
there's been a policy, but we'd
Yep.
love to put that back in the sinking fund. But
Yeah.
yeah, we can talk about that another day, but yes, it'll get sold and
Okay.
brought back here.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Welcome.
Joe, is there any savings as far as going with a whole package, or do we need to piece it out just like this?
We're kind of picky in a sense, I'll say. We like to build the trucks the way we like them and the way we want them, and you're just not going to get that on the floor. And right now with bodybuilders and trucks not being available, you're just not seeing trucks sitting on lots that are turnkey ready to go, and especially not with what we want. You know, we do drop down sides on the beds and certain lighting, the plow we want to match the plow we have. I mean, to find that custom fit that's perfect, you're not going to happen. So,
No, I got that.
yep.
Are we gonna get a quote to outfit this for 2021?
Yes, I'll have 3 numbers coming to you from 3 different vendors. Unlike this where it's from Ewald with 3 different, you know, makes. I will have, right now I'm working with Braking Equipment, Casper, and Monroe to get numbers. So I'll come back with those 3 different numbers, and then we can talk about that.
Becky? So, I mean, we have 2 trucks we're talking about here back to back, and I was just kind of looking. They're spec'd a little different. Is there a reason for that?
Slightly, what are you seeing that?
Well, there's like one's got 170 amp alternator, one's 220. Are they both gonna be plow?
Yeah, these are really weird specs. You gotta go to the options and not the beginning. I don't know why Ewald specs are that way, but if you go to the, well, let's see, on the GMC here for the park. You gotta go back to page optional equipment, which is page 9. And that's where it's goofy. I don't know why they even do that, but yeah, you'll read gasoline motor and all that, and then you're thinking, okay, yeah. And then you get to options, and then it's all of a sudden you see the diesel and the $9,000 upcharge and blah, blah, blah. Both of them should be snowplow prep packages with the, that should be matching alternators. I can verify that though if.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah. See so here's what we wanted. The park truck's gonna have a plow, the DP or highway truck will not. What happened is we want certain switching and there's a switch in the roof for the beacon light, and all that. We try to get all that put in factory because then you're not butchering the dashboard to put a switch in. It's there, you tie it in. You cannot get the snowplow or that switch up there without the snowplow prep package. So even though we didn't really need it per se on the highway truck, we're just gonna get it because it has the stuff we need outside of the actual plow part. So we're talking a couple $100 at the end of the day to have the snowplow prep.
So I think the question was, one is the exact same truck on, naming.
One's
And
longer
there's
wheelbase.
there's $200 difference.
One paint is green, and unfortunately, that's a custom color.
Okay.
So you're a little, but I prefer, and for that price, to match the trucks in the fleet at the park, match the DPW and so on, or highway. And the other thing was it is a longer frame. So the frame for the highway department's longer because we're putting a backpack behind the cab for storage. The parks truck will just have a cab and then the dump box right behind it. So.
This is a dumb question. You guys can't share this, the departments.
We're replacing trucks we already have, so we're not adding it. It's been this way forever. He's already, right now Mike has, including himself, 6 employees out there, and they have 3 vehicles. So obviously they sometimes team up, but there's times where one guy runs to that park, and now you're like, okay, what do I drive? The lawnmower, so stuff like that. But yeah, we definitely need the 3 vehicles as a.
Because these trucks pull the trailers with all the lawnmowers.
Correct. Lawnmower, the ball field prep, Smithco,
And you still might
amongst
be
other things. that we
using
have.
the red truck.
Correct. Our trucks, like today, we ran into the point, so we have 2 1-tons and then the pickup that I would utilize. Today, the guys were in that pickup because 2 of the other trucks were out running errands, and then you need that 3rd one. So that's the beauty to have a truck that can do that. So,
I'm surprised the green costs more than the red.
Red, white, and black, I believe, are standard colors, and then you have a little fee beyond that. Yeah, weird.
Any other questions?
So are these trucks all in the sinking funds too?
No.
They're in the budget.
Capital, we approve.
Capital budget.
No, those are just the.
Because this has a $75,000 price tag, and then the highway truck was a little less, but because we had the plow and all that.
73.
Yeah, so, no.
But they've been budgeted and the money's there, actually.
Yeah, we did last year.
But these trucks are not in that yearly sinking fund like the fire engines and the ambulance.
That's just the
Correct.
patrol trucks.
Oh, just the patrol.
Yeah, the big truck.
Any other questions? Doug? Linda?
No.
Mark? Becky? Mark?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2022 Chevrolet 3500 cabin chassis for $42,272 from Ewald.
Is there a second? Second by Becky. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discussion necessary action regarding the purchase of the cabin chassis for the highway division.
This is a carbon copy outside of red color, longer.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Red in color and a longer frame to do the backpack. The boxes will be identical on both trucks, 9-foot dump bodies, but we put a 2-foot sleeper unit, as we call it, as a joke, but it's called a backpack. It's 2 doors on each side that you can access and throw tools in. It's kind of our sign truck. We always utilize it as. So then you can put your tools in there, signs and whatnot, and go do sign work. So, and both trucks did have lift gates on it. That's coming up later in the body. That's why I'm not, this is literally just the cabin chassis right now, and we'll talk more on all that stuff later.
Any questions on this one?
I do have a question. I noticed that in the past, you've taken dump boxes and moved them from truck to truck. Is there any advantage of doing that on these little trucks?
Not
Or you take,
anymore. I mean, not yet. Maybe going forward, because now we're putting stainless
you're gonna
bodies
put
on them.
stainless?
And then they're gonna last longer. This is steel body that's already starting to rust, so it's so
So
it's only
maybe
gonna get worse. You can't ever get it back now. So, but going forward, every truck I spec's gonna have a stainless body on it. And actually, once we sell the trucks here, that 15 has still got a painted box on it, but oh well. But the highway trucks will all have stainless bodies on it, minus a couple older plow
Boxes.
trucks that'll fade out. But so yeah, going forward, it's definitely going to be something that maybe, hey, this box is actually in good shape. We don't need to buy another box, but we do need to put a cabin chassis underneath it.
So that toolbox that you're talking about, that's
steel on
aluminum.
the current truck, but the new one's going to be aluminum. I
Aluminum.
spec'd in an aluminum. You can't get it in stainless, but
No.
I'm getting it in aluminum. So I mean, I try to. That's my biggest thing is all corrosion resistant as possible on these new trucks. You got to do it.
Okay.
Linda?
No questions.
Becky? Mark?
Nope. We'll do it again. We'll make a motion to purchase the 2022 Chevrolet 3500 cabin chassis for $42,049, no cents from Ewald.
Is there a second?
I second.
Linda? Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item E, discussion and necessary action regarding approval of Farner Asphalt Sealers applying GSB-88 to Howard Lane and Jolene Drive for a cost of $12,056. Joe?
All right, so this is something we did a couple of years ago on Hillside Meadows, which would be the far south end of Hillside Road, and then you turn left into the subdivision. There's 2 roads, Wildwood and Conservancy Court. Did that a couple of years ago. Basically, it's a rejuvenator of the asphalt, so it pours oil onto the asphalt and a little bit of sand just for grip, but it's a very clean process. I like chip sealing for, the maintenance factor, but it is a very messy process that draws a lot of complaints. And it's just irritating, it becomes more of a hassle than anything. But obviously we need to do something. I mean, you don't want to just pave a road and then in 15, 20 years, it's junk. You're trying to get 20, 30 years out of these roads. So this is relatively minimal cost. And it softens the asphalt, it seals it to keep the water from going down, and that's what gets everything to move, so it'll run off. It softens it, gets it some flexibility back, so the cracking doesn't become as, pronounced as quick. So, and Wisconsin stinks just because it beats our roads up with the freeze thaw and the movement. So to do Howard Lane and Jolene are 2 roads that are good candidates. They're still in good shape. They would get crack filled prior, which we already got into our crack filling contract. And then we would come over to GSB 88 with the oil, the sand, very clean. And it did a great job. I'm happy with the way it turned out on Hillside Meadows. So, it's 2 years. They can't give you a great, it's the best thing ever. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. The cracking has slowed down and it's holding up well. So I'd like to do this some more. We have a $100,000 budget for crack fill and chip seal. And as you can see in my notes, there's $56,000, 620 in that contract for the crack filling, which we already approved and is getting done this year. So we have 43,000. This is 12,056. So fits within the numbers, and we can maybe do a little more even after we do this. There might be some other stuff to do before fall.
Jolene isn't really that old of a road, though. I'm surprised it needs it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's some roads in this town that aren't that old that
I
somebody
mean, there's
was
not, I
looking the
think
other
there's
way
9
or-
houses over there, something
Yeah.
like that.
It's cracked up pretty
I'm
bad.
shocked.
It's sad. I mean, I don't know. I can tell you right now that our 8 mile or 24 miles we did with the $8 million and everything since I've kind of been here, not saying it's me. I mean, the engineering has been better, everything. Roads are being watched a lot more and you're getting a good 4.5. When we would do culverts and rip up the road, and Mike knows this, I mean, we'd tear up a culvert on a road and see 2 to 3 inches of asphalt. And we're like, whoa, why is there that's a driveway in your, house, not a road where you're driving. And, obviously these roads are built for, in a subdivision, you would assume cars, but everybody orders a refrigerator once in a while from wherever and gets it delivered and, stuff like that. So you do get a big truck, or a guy gets a load of stone delivered. That's 73,000 pounds in a full dump truck, and a full semi, which can go down these roads and make deliveries if he was loaded, is 80,000 pounds. So when you're putting 2 to 3 inches down on there, it doesn't last. That's why we're doing 4.5 inches on subdivisions and 5 inches on main roads. And
See, now
holds
that's
up.
a newer subdivision over there.
Yeah.
So there weren't specs, or when Marchese put it in, that they had to put it, just curious.
I hear you. Newer, correct, but older than my time here. So I've been here 8 years almost now, and
Mhm.
that was before you, right? So he's 10 years and that's before him. So,
Wow.
I mean, it is Wisconsin, and actually 10 years is a long time for a road when you really think about it. And other than crack filling, it never got any kind of treatment.
How long of a length of a life would you add to that road over there then? to
You
do
would
one of
hope
these?
with this you'd get easily 5 years out of it.
Well, how about Howard? How old is that road?
Oh, resurfaced again before me. So I'd have to look it up exactly, but
That's okay.
that one's actually holding up much better because it's a thicker road. It was built for, even though we don't want the trucks on that road, but it was built a little stronger because
Sure.
it's not a main road. I don't want to say that because we know the Howard Lane stuff, but it was built because of the position it is in. Where Joe Lynn has 9 homes, like you said, it wasn't built to say, yeah, there's gonna be dump trucks running down here and big trucks, but why? You just 4.5 is standard, and that's what we've been doing going forward. And as you can drive around, I've been staying on crack filling. The first roads we did are now 4 or 5 years old in the $8 million deal, and yeah, there's cracks in them because that's life in Wisconsin. Usually by 2 to 3 years into a new road, you're gonna see a crack. It's just how it goes. But they look pretty darn good besides a few crack fills.
Okay.
Becky? Mark?
What was the rationale for picking these two?
Still good candidates that, a road that's past its prime or alligatored out where you got the squares, chip, which we don't have a lot of those. But I mean, anything like that is just, at that point, you let it go till it needs to be fully replaced. So these are still good candidates that I just wasn't trying to break the bank and that are shorter, but good. And it's still a little bit of a learning where I don't want to go all in and spend a ton of money on this. And then we do come to find out that, well, it just isn't working out, where I think we got the money, let's do it. I was happy with what I saw. And then hopefully, I'll continue to see good things and we'll be happy we made these decisions.
Is there a correlation between slowing down the pacer deterioration and applying this, or?
Big time.
Yeah.
That would be a huge goal. Do a treatment like this is going to keep your Whistler pacer rating, hopefully hold it steady for a while instead of just a steady decline. You kind of do this, and then that again, so.
How does this compare with the new roads that you put in our subdivisions that we did?
Totally different process, this
Because
is
ours
just,
is thicker now?
yeah, yours is definitely, which would be one of the good ones, going forward. So,
Okay.
this is something down the road in 5 years, maybe we could do in your subdivision, in a perfect world, we would do this if you would talk to Farner, they'd say, do it in your subdivision right now, but we don't have that kind of budget for money. That's what
No.
we're trying to work on this every year to bump
Okay,
up roads,
okay.
but we heard the park thing, there's a lot of stuff we gotta balance. So,
Mhm.
but in a perfect world, you do it in your subdivision now, but you could do it in another 5 years and be safe, probably.
Okay, thank you.
Is, before I make my motion here, is this 3773 in addition to the 12056?
Correct. So the 56,620 plus the 373 plus the 12, we're still sitting at 30,000, I think, roughly. Maybe a little less than that of available funds, even after all this work is done.
So I think the question was, is he approving the 12,056 or the 18,000?
Historically, I was told that $5,000 or less wasn't, unless I didn't have money for it, but it fits within the budget and it's under 5,000. So when I was given that quote, I wrote it here to just make you guys aware, but I wasn't coming for approval. Not that I'm trying to hide anything. I think you guys are well aware of that. It's just, yes, it is an extra cost to do it, but talking to Farner, and when we did it, he's I'd prefer to seal it up there, and I agree, because then everything is fully sealed before they do that for water.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve $12,056 to go towards Farner Asphalt Sealers to apply GSB 88 to Howard Lane and Jolyn Drive.
Or no more than maybe. Or do we put the?
Is there a
definite?
second?
Second,
Second, go ahead.
no more than the 12,000. Do we have to put that in there?
Motion says 12,000.
Pardon me?
Generally, it's not to exceed.
Not to exceed, right. Okay.
That was your motion, Mark?
Not to exceed.
That covers everything.
Mhm.
Maybe we sometimes have to add contingency.
Yeah, I mean, all this with them, I've never had an issue. That's what the invoice will come in at.
Okay. All right.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion?
What was the sealing that they used to do on the roads with the aggregate?
Your time is over. Yeah, that's a
Nice.
chip seal. We did that on Hillside Road last year, you know.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing it on a main road. I would do a Lake 5, a Plainview, you know, stuff like that with it. It's just a very messy process and yeah, you can say,
Are you talking about the one with the pebbles or with the flats?
No,
But
well, I know you
The
did that
flat-
flat stuff. Before that, a couple years before that, they were doing the aggregate with the
So,
grit or with
yeah.
stones or whatever.
7-8 years ago and probably up until 2 years ago, it was a boiler slag piece.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was a byproduct of the coal at the power plants. And that was an awesome product. But once again, it is a tracking product. People took it into their house. It went into their house, and the phone would just ring nonstop. Now, is that a reason to not do a maintenance treatment to a road? No, but I'm trying to look at alternatives here and.
Because that makes these roads last even longer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
right?
it does
I
help.
mean-
That's why I did Hillside. I'll do a main road and we'll stick some money and we did 3 miles of Hillside last year with chip seal. And that is great. But in the subdivisions, I'm looking for alternatives to, you know,
Well, I'm
keep
sure it's
people
more
happy.
expensive.
But we
but-
went from pea gravel to the slurry.
correct.
Yeah.
So now there's a new product.
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
can't get this
Right,
stuff.
so
Yeah.
the boiler
Yeah.
slag now went away to a granite, and that's another very coarse, sharp stone that, I mean, for instance, Brighton Estates, great people over there, and we got them all happy, and they love everything we did, but they had a full sheet written up where everybody was signing it to have us come clean it, so we went for a day and we just cleaned. I mean, I wasn't worried about this getting to you guys, a petition they were trying to write. I'm like, we'll fix it for you, no big deal, but that's how bad some of these
Yeah.
complaints get about
Yeah.
this stuff, and it's just like, man alive.
What was put on Tamarack Road a couple
That
years
would have been
ago?
the boiler slag. So same process, just a product we can't get our hands on anymore.
Is that better than what you're
Yeah,
doing
it's
on
a
that?
horse apiece, but the nice thing about boiler slag is it's black, obviously, and it holds that color. Man, it's good and bad. It holds water, so when it would be, we're off topic here, but when it holds water and in the winter, it would be an ice skating rink.
Okay.
Very kind of scary, but the minute the sun would pop out, if you plowed, it'd flash right off. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes you go into a subdivision where you'd be on an old road that's a lot more gray, and you'd be plowing an inch of snow, and you'd roll into a boiler slag subdivision, and it'd be blotchy, literally melting off because it can hold the heat too from the
Yeah.
day before. It just
Yeah, okay,
a neat product, but unfortunately, you can't get it.
okay, thank you.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Joe.
Joe.
Thank
Mike,
you.
Thanks for coming out, Mike.
Discussion and necessary action regarding resolution 2021-12, waiving the conflict of interest.
All right, so Municipal Law and Litigation Group is working with Sussex and Lisbon, work on a border agreement
Oh, 307.
at 307. And in order to use them, both the village and the town needs to waive their ability to, so then we are aware that they are also working for Sussex, that we don't have a conflict of interest. So we are, that's what this will do is waive that. So we can work with Sussex toward the goal that we're trying for.
So did Sussex already sign this?
Yes.
Any questions, concerns?
No.
Is there a motion on this item?
I make a motion, we accept resolution waiving conflict of interest between the town of Lisbon and the village of Sussex, and formerly known as Resolution 2021-12, waiving conflict of interest.
Is there a second?
Second. Ladies
Mark?
first.
Any final discussion?
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item G, discussion only regarding potential allowance of ATV, UTV on subdivision and other arterial roads. This is something I asked to be put on the agenda. This is more just to get a feel from the board if this is even something we want to look at. Apparently, there's been some changes in state law potentially, and I guess there's nothing here to act on tonight, so to say, but
What changes in the state law then?
I just found out about it a little while ago, so I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Then we need to find out what they are.
Yeah, but I mean, is there even a,
Well, I
Desire.
personally think it's dangerous if some of these kids, or even adults.
but you won't be a kid doing this.
Okay, well, some of these adults,
You're getting cars too.
that's true. That's true.
So this would allow ATVs to be in subdivision?
Potentially, like on the roads. They do this up north. I know it's up north, but I think some local communities have been looking at this lately.
Ashton has it already. I mean, I went to my house, I drive in signs there and they can ride. I shouldn't be talking, but a guy I know drove from Ashton to Fond du Lac. He was able to use the UTV and pick roads from Ashton all the way to Fond du Lac.
Oh, wow.
And stay legal.
These UTVs aren't exactly, I mean, some of these are cars. I mean, they're bigger than Volkswagen Bugs.
But there is a lot of restrictions in the state law, like golf carts do not qualify.
I
So
think we need to
you
know what
can't
the
use them.
restrictions are.
Yeah, I think there's, I mean, we need to know things, but,
But,
Need to know the restrictions.
yeah, I think, well,
I mean, is there even an openness to look at this?
Sure.
you can definitely select which roads.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put them on all the roads.
Okay, you're open to looking at it potentially depending on what's allowed.
Yeah,
Becky?
myself.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it, so I'm willing to look at it.
Mark?
I would actually be opposed to moving any further with it in the sense of we have 0 ATV routes or UTV routes within our municipality and the purpose, and I guess let's go more to the spirit of allowing these in subdivisions and other arterial roads would be to allow people to connect trail to trail. That's essentially what the spirit is up north. We don't have that environment down here, so in semi-urban, non-rural communities, I think we would draw up more problem to allowing this than we would be doing good for people by allowing them to have this. So I would be opposed to moving any further.
After thinking and hearing you, I can understand that, Mark. We open it up, this might just be more of an issue.
Well, I think we'd have issues.
We do have issues
No, we
now?
would.
Yeah, we would.
Yeah, I mean, there would be,
Essentially, anybody who's properly licensed with a UTV can drive through any subdivision or any town road that they would choose if we move forward with that.
Yeah.
I thought you could select which roads and clearly mark them and not.
Mhm.
you can, but then you need to, there's gotta be rhyme or reason behind it, obviously. And what do you
Well,
do? So
right,
if you
and-
have a subdivision where you have it open, but then you stop at the road, what did you accomplish?
Because there's nothing to tie it to,
Right.
which is what his point is.
Yeah.
So how did this come up? I mean, somebody must have wanted.
I had a call. I got an email and a call, and the resident that was looking for it, he's got some other people that potentially would like to see it. I think there's a lot of people like to see it, but it's gotta work.
I think there's a lot of it going on already.
Oh, I think so too. John, have you
Well,
seen
maybe
this
not
in
a
other
lot.
municipalities?
Well, I was doing all the research. I'm surprised he said Asherton. I guess I did write it on the town center. It was pretty narrow. Trying to think when I wrote it, because I've done North Prairie and the village of Oconomowoc Lake, and apparently now Asherton. Those are the only three. Village of Pewaukee did golf cart, or tried to do golf carts and did one. it's a little complicated because you have golf carts, you have low-speed vehicles, you have all-terrain vehicles, you have ultimate expedition vehicles, neighborhood electric vehicles, and off-the-road utility vehicles. And each one has separate rules and regulations. So when you talk about regulation of ATVs, and that's by the DNR, there's a whole set of rules as to what you can regulate and what you can't regulate. So you have to decide which ones you want. And then I have to tell you the laws, or you have to get Kathy to look up the laws for that. I'm interested to hear that, because boy, I follow all the league stuff and I have seen nothing come through on all-terrain vehicles or UV as proposed legislation. That doesn't mean that maybe the league didn't report on it, but.
I didn't see it myself. I
You
just
know,
heard there's some changes.
I usually watch that stuff pretty close. So I wouldn't say there's a groundswell. Northbury just did it because of Broadlands. Some of the subdivisions around Broadlands, and in particularly Broadlands, asked if they could drive their golf carts over to the golf course. And that it was very narrow, and it's limited to that. Conomowoc Lake's a little broader, but they got all registered, and they're very specific vehicles that are allowed in the Conomowoc Lake. Insurance, permit them with the village, and you know. So it's all over the board. Each type of vehicle has to be researched to see what the restrictions can be and can be. But I wouldn't say that there's been a groundswell. You know, lots of our 60 communities that those are the only ones I know of. So that's the best I can offer.
Going around a lake, I can
That's
see a
different.
little difference.
Yeah.
Well, we have 15 miles an hour on a lot of the roads in the
Yeah.
Conomowoc Lake. So, you know, it's not a,
Exactly.
your bike, you're more worried about getting by a bike going too fast
Yeah.
than a vehicle.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
true.
I guess I just think of some of the things that came to mind for me, and we'd have to put all new posting for it. I mean, there's gonna be legal fees tied with it to develop and I guess get a resolution. Also too, we have a certain contract for police services, and I'm not speaking on behalf of our police services contract in any aspect, but we don't have more than one squad at any time that we contract for. So not to say that there's going to be a hornet's nest of UTVs and ATVs circling our streets, but it's just also something we're taxing our services with.
I agree with that.
I think we live in a community where should you need to go up and down the street, I think we could trailer and be just fine. We're not talking about being up north where you're driving 20, 30 miles to get from each destination.
Does that change anyone's opinion?
Well, if it's just a phone call from one or two people that want it, I don't see why we would get heavy into this. And I would never put them on all the roads.
Oh, no.
It would have to be select roads. They'd have to be clearly marked.
Yeah, but if you
And-
can't connect them, what are you gaining?
Well,
Right.
that is a good point.
I do agree that we would have roads that may be okay with this, but now again, we're talking about not everybody's gonna stay on the paved portion. They're gonna deteriorate the shoulders. We're not connecting anything to anything. We
Right.
don't, none of our parks allow for ATV or UTV operations, so
Nor does the bug one.
nor does the bug line.
Right,
So
which if the bug line had something, that would be different.
Does that change your mind, Becky?
I mean, I really don't care one way or the other. I mean, if somebody wants it, I mean, if it's worth looking into, that's fine. If it's too complicated, if there's too much in it, then let's not look into it. It sounds like it's very complicated.
We don't need any more complicated right now.
No, we don't.
No, no,
Okay,
We need easy something.
yes.
all right. All right, well, let's let this one, looks like I'm here, let this one chill for a while here, maybe in the future if it needs to come up.
Agree.
but-
Agree.
All right. Item H, discussion necessary action regarding monthly review of any complaints, concerns received about Lafarge seasonal hours.
I did receive one phone call on the 16th, asking if they had extended their hours. It was an extraordinarily windy day the day before, and this came from the house that is closest to Lafarge. and he wanted to know if they had extended their hours because dust was flying around later than usual. I gave him all of the information. I even forwarded him a complaint form, and he said he'd look at it, but if he wanted to file one, he was given the deadline. He did not.
So there is no complaint.
So there is no complaint.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else receive anything?
No, not related to that. Just a question on that. Administratively, are we going to get that to Lafarge? Maybe they can increase their, obviously, the
I did
16th, we're talking about a
speak
drought.
with
So,
the operations manager, Doug, to give him a heads up. And he said he'll make a point of when the wind, especially when it's blowing out of the south, he'll make a point of watering more often.
Oh,
He was
good,
very accommodating when I spoke with him.
good,
thank you.
good thing.
Item I, discussion necessary action regarding LFD employee benefits manual.
Can I suggest we go to closed session to allow our attorney to go through that, and then we can go through the LFD afterwards?
Item 11, closed session. Pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.95 parent E, for the purpose of deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically regarding Brian Builders' offer to purchase. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Is there a second? Second by Becky. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman,
Aye.
Supervisor Moonen,
Aye.
Supervisor Beal,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown,
Aye.
Supervisor Klotecker.
It's 5-0. We're going to closed session at 8:12.
Just a moment to-
Goodbye, thanks, Joe.